Hi, I'm Paul Stringfellow and welcome to another Tech Takeaways podcast. So on this week's show, as ever, I'm joined by my co-host, Jason Fitzgerald.
Howdy.
Wayne Miller.
Howdy.
How are you doing, guys? You okay?
Yeah,
Good.
great.
How are you?
Good. Yeah,
good.
Marvellous. You know, we're in a podcast studio. We've got a new Pac-Man machine. So it's all good. What more could you want when talking about technology? So in this episode, we're actually going to be picking up on something that we did in one of our very early episodes around cloud cost optimization. And the reason we wanted to kind of cover it again was that we've learned quite a lot in the kind of 6 months or so that we've been working with the tool set that we've got and offering a service that we've got to customers. So we wanted to take a little bit of time just to give you kind of some of the things that we've learned and some of the kind of key tech takeaways, those bite-sized morsels that people like to chew on. Again, pinching one of Jason's way better introductions than I do. So we just kind of wanted to pick up on that. So, but before we kind of go into what we've learned, maybe a good starting point, Wayne, is tell us a little bit about what cloud cost optimization is and why people might want to bother at all.
Well, we can let Jason cover off some of it in a second, but just from a very high level, we've been doing this, since about March, April, we probably, best part of 100 readbacks, I think now. But the kind of key takeaways that we've seen, from running this management information is the ability to demonstrate savings, to look at people's environments and highlight areas where they're not getting best value, and that could be license and that could be Azure. I'm not going to get into the Azure bit. I think I've seen reserved instances should be used instead of something else, and I'm learning. Ask me next year, I could probably do the technology piece as well. The other big key area was security challenges and identifying areas where, the security posture can be improved. And one of the options we have is to predict future spend when you deploy something, which is, we're seeing, or I'm getting feedback that IT leaders are consuming something in Azure, they build it, they deploy it, but then they've got no idea what it's going to cost as they move forward. So having the ability to kind of predict what that cost is going to be with the different environments or the different options that they've got in Azure, we're seeing that that's quite powerful. So they're the kind of key areas that, the readbacks we've seen so far.
And they feel like, almost kind of the triangle of things that you want, isn't it? It's, am I spending my money correctly? And could I be spending it better? I think that's a great thing. I think the idea that I'm moving to cloud, can I make sure that it's secure as my on-premises environment was? Although that maybe depends on your on-premises environment, but is it as secure as it needs to be? I think that's an important part. And then actually that predictability, what's this going to look like going forward? Because that can be one of the things that really catches people out as they move to cloud is we don't know how these costs might change and we don't know how they're going to do them. And from kind of things you've seen over the last 6 months, what are some of the benefits that you've seen people take? So I know we've talked about those at a high level, but have you got some examples of where people have made really good savings, for example?
Licensing is a big one. Do they use all the applications that come with that license and that cost? And the report's really good because it'll identify the applications in that license that aren't being used, and it'll make recommendations to, in some way, downgrade a license, or tell the organisation that people haven't taken on board the opportunities to use these licenses, and they're not on board with, Teams is a big one. Most organisations, in fact, all organisations are using Teams, but there's some users that, have only used it, have not used it in 6 months, for example. So, and there's reasons for that. The secure score, identifying where people are logging in from. I think, from a security perspective, I think we had someone, was it Russia or China? Why is someone logging in? And that highlight, it was a big red flag. I think we talked about this last time as well, was global admins. How many times has a global admin been set up that, that was only set up once to do X and we forgot to, so in most cases now, we've had organisations who've done a clean sweep of the security posture and improved it no end. You could probably go into a bit more detail on that. Yeah. But the other one was, we spoke before of, it's getting that granular level of costs on Azure. Now, I don't know enough about Azure to understand how you build it. But when we've kind of highlighted the live environment, we've highlighted, or the IT leaders in that organisation have gone, geez, I didn't realise it was costing that much. It was only set up for X. And then it'll make a recommendation that will reduce the cost by 70 or 80%, but be able to keep it performing in the same way. Is that fair?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's as technical or high level.
But that's great, isn't it? Because they're the kind of things that I think people want to know, because you know you're going to go through a process here, and if we can talk about saving people from, you talked about there maybe up to 70-80% cheaper, particularly in something like Azure where you're using the right kind of service as opposed to overpaying for stuff. But even some of those other things you talked about, that idea of, am I using all of the licenses that I'm paying for? And that can work two ways, can't it? That can work in, well, there's an opportunity to save some money, but it can also work in a way of, well, actually, here's an opportunity to roll out some services that give me some more efficiency or allow me to do some different things that actually I can't do, that I didn't realise I could do because I didn't realise I had the licence for it. So it can kind of work both ways. And that kind of security stuff, I suppose the thing is, it's giving you kind of management information insight into cloud, your cloud services, because that can be a really tricky thing for lots of organisations, that you put all this stuff in the cloud and then you lose visibility of it.
Well, before you jump into it, we haven't had one readback or session where there was no value.
Yeah.
Everyone has, there's been value brought to all the sessions. I think, for me and the sales team inside Gardeners, we want to roll this out for organisations. But some of the common questions I keep getting asked is, how do we onboard? What does onboarding look like?
Onboarding's really simple. We essentially provision the environment and background. There's nothing for the end user to do other than for a global admin to click on a link that we send them over. So when a global admin clicks on a link, it gives read-only access to the environment, so we can't make any changes. It literally just pulls the information out of the environment, and it runs for 2-3 weeks just to gather up all of the information that's needed, and then we present it back. So when we present it back, there will be a number of cost savings highlighted, as you mentioned, but also recommendations around security as well. In every readback so far, we've been able to demonstrate a cost saving and security improvements, and it is very simple to set up, literally less than 10 minutes.
So that's kind of the readback stuff, I think that's kind of what we're talking about there. There's I think that's a great phrase you made before about there's always value in these, and sometimes that value has been, actually, you're doing a pretty good job with this. And it's the ability for them to be able to go back to theirs and say, look, into their board or whoever, who's the people who are signing the checks, and say, hey, that money we're spending in the cloud, we're spending it well. And that's just as valuable as being able to go in and say, absolutely, we can save you 30-40%, value in both of those things. But we just talked there about the readbacks. The simplicity of setup, I think, is hugely important, in a cloud environment. Yeah. But in terms of readbacks, now, but one of the things we've done over the last 6 months is to be able to do more than that, isn't it? Now we're allowing some actionable insight as well.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so it's not just a one-time readback. We can put the platform in place and give the system administrators or whoever it is access to be able to read this information on an ongoing basis, to show ongoing value from that. So this is the ability to delve into quite responsive reports. So it's built on Power BI, Microsoft Power BI, and you can delve into each individual cloud resource and say, why is this so expensive, for example? And you can delve in and see not only what it cost you, over the past 6 months, but also a forecast as to what it's going to cost you over the next year. So that gives you for future planning as well. Do we need this resource? Maybe not. What are the recommendations around it? And it'll actually make live recommendations against the live environment to say, if you're going to keep this for longer than 6 months, you might want to do it this way because you'll save, X amount. So we can set it up. Again, it's read only. We give system admins access, and they can access it on an ongoing basis to demonstrate value of the cloud environments.
Yeah, and I believe we've actually had some people who kind of use this now as almost like a live decision-making tool.
Yeah,
so
right.
Before I make any more spend, can I actually utilise spend that I've got? And that's an example we've seen, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And we've got system admins who have had Azure set up for a couple of years now, who've just deployed this tool and gone back and said, I didn't realise my dev environment was costing this much. if I follow the recommendations, I can reduce those costs by 80%. And really taking it to say, we're going to review this monthly going forward so that we can demonstrate the value of the cloud environment that we do have. And it will continue to make security recommendations as well. So if there's a change in that platform, it won't be long if you're reviewing it on a regular basis before you notice that.
Yeah, and I think that's hugely valuable. I think loads of value, easy to implement, and long-term predictive value. I think are kind of really key parts of cloud migration and cloud adoption.
Absolutely, yeah.
And actually are things that are difficult to do and require some level of tooling, some level of integration with, because all that information sits inside of the Microsoft cloud, but it's just being able to sometimes just kind of pull that info out.
Yeah, it can be very difficult to find that information. These reports will consolidate it all into one place to make it easy to read, easy to understand, and easy to take actions on.
Well, it's been great, guys. And maybe last word to you, Wayne. So for somebody watching this thinking, should I bother with this? What are the key benefits?
Well, I think, for now it's free of charge. So there's no cost for us to kind of set this up for you. It'll help you, just make sure you're getting value, optimize spend. It gives you an opportunity to look at the security posture. And as you said, there's been a couple of instances where the security posture has been so good that they've said, we're going to take this to the board to demonstrate what a fantastic job that we're doing, which has been great because there's been a lot of positives that have come from it. And then, from the Azure perspective, if you use an Azure, the ability to kind of understand, can you economize on what you're using currently? And can you predict, future spend based upon what you're using now? And it's really simple, isn't it? From what I've seen, when you log in and look at it, it'll make recommendations on each of your environments. Is that
each resource?
Yeah. Each resource. Yeah. So I think save money, improve security, and the ability to predict the future spend, which everyone moving to the cloud is really scared of. So contact us and we can help you set this up.
Save money, better security, predictive spend. I can't imagine there's three better things you want to know about your cloud environment than that. So, well, look, guys, it's been great. Thanks for that. That's really useful insight. Hey, and if you've enjoyed the show, why not subscribe? Make sure you don't miss tech takeaways in the future. You can subscribe here on YouTube. As Jason points out, there's a clicky, fingery thing down here. You can just press that and subscribe, apparently, so I've been told. Yeah, just do that. And of course, you can find us all good homes of podcasts and possibly some bad ones as well. So, hey, until next time, thanks for watching Tech Takeaways.
Cheers.